Hey everybody, just a quick intro to this video. I filmed it a while ago, and right before uploading it, after I uploaded my world peace video, I got some questions from people who had seen the video, and I realized in this video I didn't explain a few kind of foundational points that we need to get to. Firstly, you've seen the world peace video, so you know about the petroleum dollar. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to discuss the strength of the United States dollar. That is determined by how often it's used and for what variety of goods and services. The United States dollar is uniquely strong because it is the global reserve currency, which means we will bail out any bank that fails worldwide, as per the Bretton Woods Agreement, which came about after World War II. I talked about that in my world peace video. And the other thing is petroleum. We basically force other countries to buy and sell petroleum using only United States dollars. People buying and selling oil all the time makes the dollar strong because it is a good that you can buy and sell with United States dollars. In fact, you have to buy and sell oil with United States dollars because of the various coups throughout the years that the CIA has done and other reasons. Again, we're not getting into it. So when I say that oil backs the dollar, it's kind of a misnomer, I guess. All commodities back the dollar. If you exchange dollars for something, then it is contributing to the strength of the dollar. So when we talk about the petroleum dollar, we're talking about how oil is just the primary commodity. That's just because oil is completely integral to everyday life all over the world. Oil is going to become obsolete if we do not want the United States dollar to fail, which as Americans we don't. We need to select a commodity that can take the place of oil in the global economy. We need another commodity that is in high demand, is high value, and will remain so. You know, you've seen the title of the video. I think you can understand the concept now. We're talking about labor. All I mean when I talk about switching from oil to labor is we need to increase the value of labor in United States dollars and increase the demand for labor. In the video you're about to watch, I'm going to talk about how to do that. I'll just read what I wrote. When you buy sweatshop goods, you still pay for labor with USD at drastically deflated prices, which, as we'll talk about in the video, we need to stop buying labor for deflated prices. Alright, I just had to clarify that before the video starts, so enjoy. If you're coming from my world peace video and this is the second video of mine that you've seen, just go ahead and subscribe, please. It would mean so much to me, and I plan on producing weekly content for the foreseeable future. I think you'll like what I am posting, so stay tuned, subscribe, thank you.
Alright, thanks for joining me. This here is going to be a bit of a companion to my world peace video. You should probably watch that one before this one, although it's not exactly necessary. In that video I talked about the petroleum dollar. I'm not going to get too far into the petroleum dollar in this video, but I talked about the need to replace it, and I mentioned how my pick for replacing it is with the commodity of labor. Rather than using petroleum to back the dollar, we use labor, or the labor hour, to back the dollar. What do I mean by that? What are the implications of it? And how do we do it? Those should be some questions on your mind, because it sounds to me like a pretty good idea. It should sound to you like a pretty good idea, because we should all be thinking, shit, we can't be burning oil forever. We can't have an entire global economy backed by oil forever. We need to figure out something, because at some point it will no longer be profitable to be burning oil, let alone the climate effects and all of that shit. Okay. Look, the thing is, petroleum, the reason petroleum works so well as a commodity backing the dollar is because it is completely necessary to modern life. I mean, the amount of petroleum products you use every day without knowing is astounding. And then you add in the ones that you actually do know about, like driving your fucking car. I mean, I have a daily commute in my vehicle. I spend probably $40 a week on gas, and that $40 a week is heavily subsidized by the government, which means more than $40 of my gas tank goes to these oil companies, all right? So that's why we need to get away from oil, but that's also to show exactly how valuable oil is in today's economy and why it works so well as a commodity backing the dollar. When we want to switch off from oil, we need to think of a commodity that is as valuable as oil, something that is used every single day. And well, hey, I mean, I burn gas every day going to work. Why not use the hours that I'm paid at work as a commodity? I mean, I work every day, or 5 days a week. I know most people do. It seems like a pretty good commodity. So there's kind of the fact that it's a no-brainer that labor would be a good commodity to back the dollar, but there is also, I mean, well, I've got other reasons here. First of all, everybody has labor. Only a few people have control over oil and make money off of oil, but everybody has labor, which means that our investment in American dollars, it'll be backed by our own hard work, not just how much of oil we burn. The cost of labor is a wealth tax. If we look at society through a Marxist lens, the only people who are purchasing labor are people who, quote, own the means of production, which means raising the price of labor is raising tax on people who own the means of production. Yeah, so there you go. Labor is a wealth tax. Oh, and it will always be valuable. I know we're talking about AI and robots replacing labor. I think that for the purposes of what we're about to discuss, human labor will always have a certain amount of value to it. And before we have AI and robots and full automation, we need to establish that as a society, we value labor more than we value the products that we get. Because if we can value labor, and if everybody has labor to sell, then nobody will end up poor at some point, right? So to me, this is part of the key of eradicating poverty, is basically making it so that anybody who can lift something, anybody who can do anything, they have something that they can turn in for dollars. And yeah. That's somewhat true today. I mean, anybody can go get a job. Not anybody, but anybody who sets their mind to it can go get a job. I want to be clear. When I say labor, I'm including intellectual work. It's anything that somebody gets paid to do. So any kind of wages or salary that you make from your job, that counts as labor. This is the important question of the video. How do we back the dollar with labor? Okay, I got a few steps for this. Step number 1, we need to be getting rid of sub-minimum wage labor. This means banning sweatshops in America. It means putting tariffs on sweatshops that operate out of other countries. It also means banning slave labor in America. It means amending the 13th Amendment so that nobody can be enslaved. It means, making prison labor an optional thing and something that actually pays well. Also, service labor. There are some service jobs in America that you can be paid less than minimum wage, mainly tipping jobs, like, for example, serving or delivery driving, which are both things that I've done at one point in my life. And yeah, paying those people less than minimum wage, what it does is, first of all, it sandbags labor prices. So anybody who thinks they don't get paid enough at work, you can look down at the bare minimum price of labor and say, like, well, yeah, there's people in the service industry making $5 an hour. That's why, I mean, they don't make a fair wage, so that's why my employer's able to get away with paying me less than a fair wage. And I mean, you can look even further down at these people in prisons who make an average of 13 to 82 cents an hour, and you can say, damn, they really don't make a fair wage, and that is how my employer is able to get away with giving me less than a fair wage. Okay? I'm going fast. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, please. So the next thing we're gonna do is raise the minimum wage. After we get rid of American slave labor, sweatshop labor, sub-minimum wage labor in general, we raise the minimum wage, and we're going to adjust that amount yearly to match inflation. According to Bernie Sanders, I think I heard him say, The minimum wage should be $23 an hour if it was raised to match productivity increases. We can look at that graph of real wages dropping compared to productivity, and we can look at, really what the minimum wage should be today and just kind of make it that. Changing the minimum wage is a pretty drastic change across the economy, especially considering that there are so many jobs that pay less than, far less than what it should be. So we can roll that out slowly. It does not have to be something that happens all of a sudden tomorrow. We can make sure to focus international or interstate companies first. Then we can kind of hone in on the more local businesses that don't operate with high enough margins to just raise all the wages very quickly without being out of funds. But say, for example, I've talked about working at Amazon. I talked about this in my Amazon Sucks video. They pay, $20-25 an hour. In my area, that's the best paying job you can get. And I think that's below what minimum wage should be. Every other job is paying less than $20-25 an hour. They're running such low margins. At restaurants I've worked at, they run such low margins, they couldn't just give everybody this raise. But if Amazon paid, $23, $24, $25 an hour, these other businesses, these restaurants, I could afford to go to them. I could afford to spend money there. They'd be making higher profits. They'd have higher margins, and they'd be able to pay their employees more. So it's raising the minimum wage and setting it to match inflation is something that can be done, but it's going to be a monthly or year-long process. But once we get it locked in, we're going to have a very stable economy, because we'll already be there with labor being able to back the dollar at that point really securely, really squarely, and it's going to make the United States dollar strong. People are buying and selling labor for a fair price. That's going to make laborers be buying and selling products for a fair price. And that is what makes an economy strong. So that's what we need to do. The last step, the kind of cherry on top, is what we need our politicians to do, our economic policy. We should be looking for a high growth, zero inflation economy. I talked about this in my monetary socialism video. Y'all should be paying attention to that shit. So with inflation, real wages drop, because your employer, if they don't have to give you a raise every year or have to change your wage to match inflation every year, then your wage is just going to drop. And we already said when we raise wages, we want to establish some kind of standard to make wages match inflation, or the minimum wage match inflation. But that being said, inflation is bad for a mature economy, in my opinion. We're starting to understand inflation is a completely arbitrary kind of thing. In my opinion, it has mainly negative economic effects. Yes, it is good that your mortgage goes up in value, because then you can sell your house when you die, and then you're able to pay for your funeral. But I would prefer that we lived in a society where you didn't need to sell your house to pay for your funeral. So how do you have a zero inflation economy? Well, the government needs to run a clean budget. You watch my monetary socialism video. Again, I'm not getting into this super much. This is a companion video to my world peace video, and it's kind of a sequel to my monetary socialism video. So you should watch those two videos if you're interested in what I'm talking about here. Oh, yeah. The other thing we need to do is the how do we create a high growth economy? Because high growth is more important than zero inflation as far as establishing labor as a commodity backing the dollar. How do you create a high growth economy? Well, we can make jobs by disrupting old markets, by which I mean mainly patents. There's a lot of patents that are being squatted on by mature companies, like, say, the one that comes to mind is Apple, but also who holds the most copyright is Disney. These giant corporations, they make most of their profits by selling products that other people are simply not allowed to make. So think about, how Apple, their MacBooks have the best kind of trackpad? You go to a Windows machine, the trackpad sucks dick. That's because Apple makes it so that nobody can buy or sell that trackpad. They're the only people who are allowed to manufacture it. They're the only people who are allowed to sell it. And that is just, to me, that's ridiculous because it's a fucking trackpad. It's a tool. And them squatting on that patent just makes it harder for everybody else to get in and make a product that can actually compete with them. So we want growth, and it's important for all you capitalists in the audience who I know how much you value competition in an economy. Growth creates competition, because if you have you want two competitive businesses growing so that they can compete with each other, and then one of them will come out on top and be the best business. But when that business comes out on top, you don't want that business to just patent everything and stay on top. You want other businesses to come up and compete with it. Yes. Disrupting the patent and copyright market is going to create new jobs. But there's also other kind of old markets that disrupting old legislation by creating new legislation that makes more sense in the modern day. Disrupting those markets will create jobs, and creating jobs creates a demand for labor, obviously, right? Creating jobs creates a demand for labor. You understand that. And when you have a demand for labor, then labor is a strong backing of the dollar. Okay, and the other thing, now this is capitalists, close your ears, because now I'm talking to the socialists in the audience. We need to create jobs using government funds. So this kind of seems antithetical to the first thing I said, which is run a clean budget. You know, how do you have a government budget that's no deficit while also using government funds to create jobs? And the answer is actually really simple. First thing you do is cut military spending. Second thing you do is increase taxes. And I don't mean increase taxes across the board. What I mean when I say increase taxes is add higher tax brackets. So right now, the highest tax percentage that anybody in America pays is after you cross it's something like $630,000 in income. That is when you begin approaching the effective tax rate of 37%. So I think 37% is far too low for a lot of people. It seems like a pretty good tax rate for that, like I said, $630,000 in income a year. But there's some people who make $1 million in income a year, and that's like almost double the previous tax bracket. So we need to add several tax brackets that approach, say, 50, 60, or even 70% for extremely high earning individuals. And that's just going to rebalance the economy, but also raise government revenue and give us the ability to create jobs that we have to. And it's going to, first and foremost, it's going to close the budget deficit. And once we have, some time of some fiscal responsibility, what we can do is we can try something like building high-speed rail, employing construction workers, employing planners, and buying these raw materials which need manufacturing. Building things is super valuable because you get the economic benefits of paying wages to workers, but you also get the economic benefits of having things that have been built. Okay? Other things we need to do is like waste management. Like our cities don't compost, which is a problem because most food waste just goes into a landfill, and in the landfill it's contaminated with, like, say, lithium ion batteries, which turns it from arable organic compounds to toxic compounds. And so when we don't compost for long enough, basically all the soil in the world is going to become toxic. That's something they warn about in the Bible. So we really don't want the soil to become toxic. We need compost management the same way that we have waste management and recycling. We need better recycling programs. We need environmental stewardship just in general. We need to be focused on building things for a peaceful future. The reason for that is like I said in my How to Create World Peace video, humans are naturally industrious, And so if we're not building, we're going to want to wage war. We're not going to want to do it, but the incentives will make us do it. We live in a global system where incentives are stronger than any individual's desire. So we need to make sure that it's the incentives that exist to keep us from fighting. Like, if we want to create world peace, we need an incentive to create world peace. And the incentive is that a good economy is one where people get paid highly to build things. Boom. Now that's a fucking video.
Did it just start recording? Oh my god, am I a tweaker? Sorry, y'all.